commonly in TTRPGs, you have a setting that's based on a century-old place. And that's nice, but you start craving something different. You want some urban fantasy in your life, but the system isn't really built for that. What do? I want to recommend Legend in the Mist because this game is highly customizable. Everything is based on tags, which are words or phrases that can be any word or phrase in your vernacular. So you want to play as a robot man? Write the words robot man on your character sheet and boom, that's all that's needed. So how did I build an urban fantasy setting for my home game? Let's get into the magic stuff because that's the first thing I crafted for this setting. It, in gameplay terms, is a theme book, aka a category of theme used to build out a character. The name of this theme book is Infernal Ability. What are the Infernal Abilities? They come in three primary categories. Number one, consultants. These are people who capture and command fiends of lower might or strength in themselves. Number two, delegates. These are people who channel the power of a fiend into their body, causing a transformation that grants supernatural abilities. Number three, we have lastly and most commonly, technicians. These are people that have such a strong emotional connection to an object that object grants them supernatural abilities while it's in their possession. And a couple things I want to point out. One, each of these categories have a very corporate job title sounding name. I did that so that it kind of sounds impersonal and professional, despite how very personal and emotional these jobs are. Like, as a technician, every day you are bringing an object that has some meaning to you, and your superiors don't care about the meaning this object has to you, they care about the abilities it gives to you. And let's also look at consultants and delegates. Are the fiends that they're channeling their own fiends? Like fiends that were born from their emotional hardship? Or are they exploiting the manifestations of others' turmoil? You know, there's so much emotional stories that can be brought out from this magic system, and that's why I like it. It's the dichotomy between professionalism and emotional connection. I ran a one-shot in this setting, and I want to highlight two of the player characters that were in it. They were both technicians. The first one is a young man whose infernal object, the object that grants him supernatural abilities, is a debit card. As a person, he was very just focused on making the paycheck. He's doing his job where he's risking his life fighting monsters, and his number one concern is getting paid at the end of the month. This desperation for money isn't a concern of his higher-ups because they just see, hey, we have a highly motivated worker with an important ability. The debit card gave him heightened senses, and heightened analytical skills while he was holding it. So, you know, good for recon, good for like just extracting important information from a scene, like detective work. And the second individual is a veteran, an older person in this field, whose infernal object was a homemade beaded bracelet saying the words best stat. And again, the higher ups do not care about the emotional weight of the object, they care about the function. And this beaded bracelet gave him the ability to heal people, a very valuable ability in a field where you're fighting monsters. So yeah, they tell the story of like how, you know, a job sometimes doesn't care for who you are, it cares for what you can do. You know, like both of these men, their infernal objects paint a story of who they are and the lives they live. But to the janitors, all that matters is that one has the power to extract information and be a detective, and the other is a medic, right? Their value is abstracted down to what they can do. So I want to talk about witches. At some point, I had the idea that janitors are the only people who have the license to use their infernal abilities, meaning that civilians are not allowed to have infernal abilities. So if a civilian manifests an infernal object, janitors are going to confiscate it. If a civilian manifests a fiend and manages to tame that fiend, becoming a delegate or a consultant, the janitors are going to come extract that fiend and separate it. Obviously, some people are not going to consent to this. They're going to rebel in some sense. And these people are known as witches because are you willingly going to hand over an object that you have a strong emotional attachment to? Like, again, infernal abilities are not just superpowers, they are a manifestation of your lived experience. So in a sense, when the janitors are coming in and extracting and confiscating, they are taking something that deeply belongs to these people. And witches are the people who refuse to hand that over. And you've probably noticed that I've given the janitors these very corporate sounding names, very non-fantasy names, but the witches are called witches, and everyone imagines what a witch is like. And this name, I think, carries two meanings. Originally they were called rascals, because, you know, oh, those rascals doing crimes and jazz. But eventually I landed on witches and felt that's hella powerful because one, the connotation of witches in our real world history, where people were seen as immoral and outcasted because they weren't understood or valued, and just the and just the infernal theme that I was using for a lot of the language around magic, because you know, in real life it was believed that witches were interacting with beasts. So I just loved how all of those threads came together. Because with world building, I think word choice is the most brilliant thing you can bring into it, because the words carry a very subtle texture to them. So that's just my world building tip that I want to give to all people playing Legend in the Mist. Okay, so this video was a part of like a contest being run by Son of Oak, the creators of Legend in the Mist. So I want to encourage you to try the game out. If you want to run an urban fantasy game, that's cool. The core setting is rustic fantasy, so if that sounds interesting, you can always get the free tutorial, or maybe you can go pick up the core rulebook from their site. I've also taken the chance to make my own free jazz for this setting. I have like a first draft at my attempt at making gameplay content for this setting. So all three of those options are in the description below.